The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched high above the gathered representatives. Hundreds of species sat in their designated sections, watching the confrontation unfold below. Ambassador Park Min-jun stood alone at the human podium, his hands clasped behind his back. His face showed no emotion as he listened to the accusations. High Commander Zex Thor of the Crovalian Empire towered over his platform. His forearms gestured wildly as he spoke, his voice booming through the translation systems. The humans refuse to acknowledge our rightful claim. They squat on worlds that belong to the Crovalian people, by ancient law. Park waited until the chamber fell silent. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. The Crovalian Empire has provided no evidence of prior habitation. Our surveys showed the systems were uninhabited. We followed all council protocols before establishing our colonies. Zex Thor slammed one of his massive fists on his podium. The sound echoed through the chamber. You pathetic newcomers dare to question us? The Crovalian Empire has ruled the stars for 3,000 years. You humans crawled into space barely 80 years ago. Other council members shifted uncomfortably. Many species had dealt with Crovalian aggression before. The Empire had grown powerful through conquest and intimidation. They claimed ancient rights to dozens of systems, always pushing, always demanding. Most species eventually surrendered rather than face their military might. Council mediator Velnara raised her thin arms, calling for order. Her species, the Peltharians, had held the mediator position for centuries. They were known for fairness and wisdom. High Commander, please present your formal demands. Zex Thor's mouthparts twisted into what might have been a smile. The demand is simple. Humanity will evacuate 8 systems within their territory. These systems fall within the traditional Crovalian sphere of influence. If they refuse, he paused dramatically, we will remove them by force. Murmurs spread through the chamber. 8 systems represented more than half of humanity's colonial presence. Millions of humans lived on those worlds. Families, farms, cities, research stations. The demand was essentially asking humanity to abandon their entire presence in that region of space. Park's expression did not change. How much time does the Empire propose for such an evacuation? Zex Thor laughed, a harsh sound that made several smaller species flinch. We are generous. We give you 30 standard days to remove your presence. That is insufficient time to safely evacuate civilian populations, Park said quietly. We would need at least 90 days to ensure everyone's safety. The Crovalian commander's eyes narrowed. You dare to negotiate? Very well. You have 10 days, not 1 minute more. After that, the Crovalian Armada will enter human space and cleanse those worlds. Any humans remaining will be considered hostile combatants. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Even by Crovalian standards, this was aggressive. 10 days could not possibly allow for proper evacuation. It was designed to force a confrontation. Velnara looked at Park with sympathy in her large eyes. Ambassador Park, does Earth wish to respond? Park stood silent for a long moment. Every eye in the chamber watched him. Finally, he spoke. The people of Earth are not warriors by choice, High Commander. We came to the stars seeking friendship and cooperation. We have always chosen diplomacy over conflict. Zex Thor interrupted with another harsh laugh. Because you are weak. Your military is laughable. 50 patrol ships against the might of the Crovalian Armada? You should surrender now and save us all time. Park continued as if he had not been interrupted. However, we cannot abandon our citizens. Those worlds are their homes. Their children were born there. He paused, his dark eyes meeting Zex Thor's gaze directly. We request that the council intervene to find a peaceful solution. Several council members nodded approvingly. The humans were being reasonable. As always. In their 80 years among the stars, humanity had never started a war. They traded fairly, shared knowledge freely, and kept to themselves. Many species considered them ideal neighbors. Zex Thor's expression showed contempt. The Council has no authority over Crovalian sovereignty. This is between our empire and the human insects. He turned to address the full chamber. Let this be a lesson to all weak species. The strong take what they wish. The weak surrender or die. Velnara tried once more. High Commander, perhaps if we appointed a mediation committee. No. Zex Thor cut her off. The human has 10 days. The countdown begins now. He gestured to his attendants and began to leave his platform. Park spoke one more time, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We hope wisdom prevails. High Commander. War benefits no one. Zex Thor did not even look back. His delegation swept from the chamber in a display of power and arrogance. The other council members began discussing among themselves. Most seemed to pity humanity. The consensus was clear. Earth would have to surrender or face destruction. No one believed the small human defense fleet could stand against the Crovalian armada. Park gathered his data tablets and prepared to leave. Velnara approached him, genuine sadness in her expression. Ambassador, I am sorry. The Council will remember humanity's courage and dignity. Thank you, Mediator. Park said with a slight bow. He walked from the chamber, with the same calm pace he had entered with. Back in the secure human embassy, Park's demeanor changed. He moved quickly to the communication room and sealed the door. His fingers flew across the holographic controls, entering a series of complex encryption codes. The screen flickered and showed the seal of Earth's Defense Command. A stern face appeared. Admiral Kim Seo-yun, Commander of Earth's Defense Fleet. I watched the session, she said without preamble. 10 days. Yes, Park confirmed. The Crovalians are completely confident. Zex Thor believes we are helpless. Kim's expression was cold and calculating. Good. Overconfidence is a weakness we can exploit. Did you get a clear reading on their fleet composition? Our passive scanners recorded everything. Their attaché brought detailed force projections to intimidate us. 500 warships, Admiral. The largest Crovalian battle fleet assembled in a century. They want to make an example of us, Kim said. Show the galaxy what happens to species who defy them. Park nodded slowly. The other species pity us. They think we will be destroyed. For the first time, Kim smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Let them think that. How long until the Crovalian fleet enters our space? Based on their current position, they will need all 10 days to assemble and reach our border. Zex Thor will want his full force present for maximum impact. Perfect. Kim leaned forward. Ambassador, you have authorization to transmit the activation codes. Park took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. He entered another series of commands. A priority communication window opened, carrying the highest level of military encryption Earth possessed. He spoke clearly into the recorder. This is Ambassador Park Min-jun, authorization code Alpha 7 Delta 9. By authority of the Earth Council and United Defense Command, I hereby activate Protocol Typhoon. Authorization is granted. Repeat. Protocol Typhoon is now active. The message would reach Earth in 6 hours. Within 12 hours, it would spread to every human colony, every station, every ship in space. And then the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. Park closed the communication and sat back in his chair. He thought about Zex Thor's arrogant laughter, his casual threats against millions of human lives. The Crovalians had made a terrible mistake. They had mistaken humanity's love of peace for inability to wage war. Earth had not forgotten its bloody history. Humans simply chose not to repeat it. But when forced, when their children were threatened, humanity remembered exactly what they were capable of. The countdown had begun. But not the countdown Zexthor imagined. Admiral Kim Seo-yeon watched the holographic display with the patience of a hunter. 10 days had passed since Ambassador Park activated Protocol Typhoon. Now, the Crevalian Armada approached human space, their 500 warships arranged in an intimidating formation designed to inspire fear. They had no idea what was waiting for them. "Admiral, the Crevalian fleet has crossed into the Henderson system," reported Commander Choi Dae-jung from his station. "They are broadcasting their intentions on all frequencies. Let me hear it." Zexthor's voice filled the command center. "Attention, human colonists. The Crevalian Empire claims this system by right of ancient sovereignty. You have 4 hours to board evacuation ships and depart. Any who remain will be considered enemies of the Empire. Any resistance will be met with total destruction." Kim permitted herself a cold smile. "Send to all ships. Execute Phase 1. Begin the retreat." Across the Henderson system, the human defense fleet sprang into action. 50 ships, mostly frigates and destroyers, began pulling back from their positions around the colonies. On the planet below, evacuation sirens wailed. Civilian transports lifted off in apparent panic, fleeing toward the system's edge. Captain Lee Jae-sung commanded the frigate Incheon, one of the ships making the panicked retreat. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, but their communications were full of staged fear and confusion. "This is Incheon to Colony Command. We cannot hold against their numbers. We must fall back." The Crevalian fleet watched the human response with satisfaction. Their sensors showed exactly what they expected: a small, overwhelmed defense force running from superior numbers. The human ships were retreating in disorder, leaving the colonies vulnerable. "The humans scatter like frightened children," Zexthor announced to his bridge crew. "Advance the fleet. Destroy any military vessels that remain. We will teach these insects the price of defying Crevalian power." The massive Crevalian warships moved forward confidently. Their weapons locked onto fleeing human ships. Energy beams lanced through space, destroying 2 human frigates that were too slow to escape. Debris scattered across the vacuum. 2 confirmed kills, reported a Crevalian tactical officer. The remaining human ships are fleeing deeper into their territory. "Pursue them," Zexthor commanded. "I want every human military vessel destroyed. Let the survivors carry news of this defeat back to Earth." The Crevalian Armada pushed deeper into human space. Over the next 6 hours, they chased the retreating human fleet through the Henderson system and into the neighboring Armstrong system. Each time they got close, the human ships would accelerate away, staying just out of effective weapons range. To the Crevalians, it looked like desperation. Their prey was running, trying to survive just a little longer. It never occurred to them that they were being led. Captain Lee kept his voice steady as he broadcast another panicked message. "Armstrong Station, this is Incheon. Crevalian fleet right behind us. We need support. Anyone who can help." On the Crevalian flagship, sensors detected more human ships ahead. Another small defense group, perhaps 20 vessels. They seemed to be rallying near a cluster of asteroids, preparing to make a stand. Zexthor's tactical display showed the situation clearly. The human forces were cornered against the asteroid field. "Perfect. All ships, attack formation. We will crush this resistance and move on to their core worlds." The Crevalian fleet adjusted course, accelerating toward the human position. Their weapons charged, ready to obliterate the small human force. Victory was certain. In a hidden command station buried deep inside one of the asteroids, Admiral Kim watched the enemy fleet move exactly where she wanted them. Her real command center was not on any ship. It was here, concealed inside a hollowed-out asteroid that appeared uninhabited to Crevalian sensors. Around her, dozens of officers monitored screens and displays. This was the real nerve center of human military operations. From here, Kim could coordinate assets the Crevalians did not even know existed. "Admiral, the enemy fleet has entered the kill zone," Commander Choi reported. "All assets are in position and ready." Kim studied the tactical display one more time. The Crovalian fleet was now surrounded by what they thought were empty asteroids and disabled space stations. In reality, every one of those positions held weapons, troops, or ships. "Send to all units," Kim said clearly. "Execute Phase 2. Spring the trap." What happened next would change galactic history forever. From the asteroids, massive hangar doors opened. These were not mining facilities. They were military bases, hidden in plain sight for 60 years. Warships poured out, their hulls dark and angular, built for war rather than appearance. From disabled space stations, weapons platforms activated. Point defense systems came online. Missile batteries revealed themselves. What the Crovalians thought were abandoned structures were actually fortified weapons platforms. And from the depths of space itself, hidden by advanced stealth technology humanity had never revealed, came the real Earth Defense Fleet. Captain Lee's voice changed completely, all pretense of panic gone. "All human vessels, cease retreat. Combat formation, Delta 7, weapons free." The 50 fleeing human ships spun in perfect coordination. They had never been running in fear. They had been leading the enemy into position. Now they revealed weapons that had been powered down and hidden from Crovalian sensors. But it was the arrival of the main fleet that caused true shock. Over 2,000 human warships materialized from stealth. They had been there all along, invisible to Crovalian sensors, surrounding the enemy fleet like a closing fist. These were not the small patrol ships the galaxy knew about. These were true warships, built in secret over decades. The Crovalian bridge erupted in confusion. Sensors screamed warnings. Tactical displays showed red hostile markers appearing everywhere. Where there had been 50 human ships, now there were thousands. "Impossible!" Zexthor roared. "Where did they come from? How many ships do the humans have?" His tactical officer's voice shook. "Commander, I count over 2,000 hostile vessels. They are surrounding us. How did we not detect them?" The first human weapons opened fire. Railguns accelerated projectiles to a fraction of light speed. The heavy metal slugs punched through Crovalian shields, as if they were not there. 3 Crovalian battleships lost main power in seconds, hulls breached by weapons that should not have existed. Missile swarms followed. Thousands of smart missiles, each with advanced AI guidance, swarmed the Crovalian fleet. Their point defense systems shot down dozens, hundreds, but there were too many. Explosions blossomed across Crovalian hulls. Energy weapons, more powerful than anything the Crovalians had seen humans use, lanced through space. They did not just damage ships, they disabled them. Precision strikes took out engines, weapons, life support. The Crovalians had come to destroy. The humans had come to dominate. Admiral Kim's voice broadcast on all frequencies, calm and cold. "Crovalian Fleet. This is Admiral Kim Seo-Yan of the Earth Defense Command. You came to our space seeking war. You threatened our families, our children, our homes. You mistook our desire for peace as weakness. Another wave of human weapons fire destroyed 15 Crovalian ships in a coordinated strike. You are now learning the truth. Humanity chose peace. We did not choose weakness. We have been preparing for this day since we first left Earth. Every colony has defenses. Every station has weapons. Every civilian facility can become a military asset. We hoped we would never need them." The Crovalian fleet tried to organize a counterattack, but they were surrounded and outgunned. Their formations broke apart under the relentless human assault. Ships tried to flee but found their escape routes blocked by more human vessels. "You wanted to make an example of us," Kim continued. "Instead, you have become the lesson. The lesson is this: never mistake mercy for weakness. Never threaten humanity's children. And never, ever start a war you cannot finish." Zexthor stared at his tactical display in horror. In just 1 hour, his magnificent armada had been reduced to chaos. 300 ships damaged or destroyed. His formations shattered, his proud warriors fleeing in panic. The humans had not just defeated them, they had been playing with them from the start. The retreat, the apparent fear, the weak defenses, all of it had been theater, designed to draw the Crovalian fleet into a trap. All ships, Zexthor's voice cracked slightly. But the human ships tightened their formation. There would be no easy escape. Admiral Kim's final words echoed through space. You wanted war, High Commander. Now face what humanity truly is when we stop holding back. Face annihilation. Ammon. High Commander Zexthor gripped the arms of his command chair as another series of explosions rocked his flagship. The bridge lights flickered. Damage reports flooded in from all sections. His magnificent warship, the pride of Crovalia, was being torn apart by weapons he had never imagined humans possessed. Shield generators at 30%, his engineering officer reported. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We have lost main weapons array. Through the view screen, Zexthor watched his armada die. Ships he had commanded for decades, vessels that had conquered a dozen worlds, were being systematically destroyed by the human fleet. Explosions lit up the darkness like terrible flowers blooming in the void. How? He whispered. How did they hide all this? Commander Choi Dae-jung sat in his command center aboard the stealth carrier Gwangju, coordinating the human assault. His screens showed the battle from multiple angles. The Crovalian fleet was trapped in a sphere of human warships, unable to escape, unable to effectively fight back. Group 7. Focus fire on those cruisers, he ordered calmly. Group 12. The Crovalian flagship is trying to charge its jump drive. Disable it. The human ships moved with precision that shocked the Crovalians. Every maneuver was coordinated. Every attack was calculated. This was not the desperate fighting of a weak species defending their homes. This was the clinical efficiency of a military machine that had been preparing for war while pretending to pursue peace. A wing of human fighters swept past the Crovalian flagship. They were small, fast, and deadly. Each carried weapons designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in Crovalian shield technology. Weaknesses that humanity had carefully studied during years of peaceful interactions. The fighters launched their payload. Smart minds attached themselves to the pride of Crovalia's hull, magnetically clamping to the armor. Seconds later, they detonated in precise sequence. The shaped charges burned through the thick armor plating, penetrating deep into the ship's interior. Jump drive is offline, Zexthor's navigator reported in despair. They knew exactly where to hit us. Oh, because they did know. Humanity had spent 80 years in space, not just exploring and colonizing. They had been learning. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange had been an opportunity to gather intelligence. While appearing friendly and open, human analysts had been studying every species they encountered, especially the aggressive ones like the Crovalians. Admiral Kim watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. The Crovalian fleet had been lured into a kill zone carefully prepared over years. The asteroids around them were not natural. Humans had moved them into position, hollowed them out, and turned them into weapons platforms. Activate the asteroid batteries, she commanded. What the Crovalians had assumed were simple rocks revealed their true nature. Massive railguns emerged from concealed ports. These were not ship-mounted weapons. These were fortress-class cannons, powered by fusion reactors buried deep inside the asteroids. The first salvo from the asteroid batteries hit the Crovalian formation like a hammer. Each projectile carried the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. Shields meant to stop ship-based weapons were overwhelmed instantly. Crovalian battleships, the pride of their navy, were torn in half by the impacts. Zexthor's tactical officer was openly weeping. We have lost 62% of the fleet. Commander, we must surrender. Never, Zexthor roared, but his voice lacked conviction. He was watching his life's work, the mighty Crovalian armada, being destroyed in hours. The Empire does not surrender to inferior species, then the Empire will lose its fleet, said a calm voice over the communication channel. Admiral Kim's face appeared on the Crovalian view screens. She looked directly at Zex Thor, her expression cold and merciless. High Commander, I am giving you one chance. Order your ships to stand down, power down all weapons, and prepare to be boarded. You have 5 minutes to comply. You cannot be serious, Zex Thor snarled. If you destroy us, the full might of the Crovalian Empire will descend upon your worlds. We have hundreds more fleets. Kim's expression did not change. Do you? Let me share something with you, Commander. A new image appeared, transmitted from Earth. It showed massive shipyards in orbit around humanity's homeworld. Hundreds of them. Each one was building warships at an incredible pace. The camera zoomed in to show the construction details. These shipyards were built to appear as civilian facilities, Kim explained. Cargo ship construction, we told the galaxy. And we did build cargo ships. But these facilities were designed from the start to be converted to military production. In the 10 days since you issued your ultimatum, we activated our war economy. The image shifted to show vast factories on Earth's surface, on the Moon, on Mars, all of them churning out weapons, armor, missiles, everything needed to wage war on an industrial scale. We are currently producing 12 new warships every day, Kim continued. In 6 months, we will have more ships than your entire empire. In a year, we will outnumber every military in the galaxy combined. This is what happens when you threaten humanity's children, Commander. You activate something we hoped would stay dormant forever. Zex Thor stared at the images in horror. He had studied Earth's industrial capacity. These facilities should not exist. How had they hidden all this? Your spy networks are good, Kim said, as if reading his thoughts. But ours are better. We knew you were watching us. We showed you exactly what we wanted you to see. Peaceful colonies, minimal defense forces, civilian infrastructure. You saw weakness because we wanted you to see weakness. Another display appeared, showing human agents embedded in Crovalian society. Military bases, shipyards, even the Imperial Palace itself. Humans working as advisors, technicians, cultural liaisons, all of them gathering intelligence, reporting back to Earth. We have been inside your empire for 70 years, Commander. We know your ship designs better than you do. We know your tactics, your strategies, your weaknesses. Why do you think our weapons are so effective? We designed them specifically to defeat Crovalian technology. The truth crashed down on Zex Thor like a physical weight. Everything he thought he knew was wrong. The humans were not weak newcomers to space. They were apex predators who had been hiding their true nature. The friendly diplomats, the peaceful traders, the humble colonists. All of it had been a mask. A very effective mask. Your 5 minutes are running out, Commander, Kim said. Surrender now. And your surviving crews will be treated according to galactic conventions. Refuse. And we will demonstrate the other weapons we have been developing. Would you like to see what happens when human creativity is applied to military technology without restraint? On the view screen, several human ships moved into position. They were different from the warships. Smaller, stranger in design, test vessels. These are experimental platforms, Kim explained. We have been very curious about certain theoretical weapons. Directed energy systems that disrupt neural function. Nanomachine swarms that disassemble ships at the molecular level. Quantum displacement devices that can teleport nuclear warheads inside enemy vessels. We have never used them in combat. They seemed too cruel. She leaned forward slightly. But you came here to annihilate us, Commander. You threatened our families, our children. So I am authorized to use every weapon in our arsenal. Would you like us to begin field testing? Zex Thor looked around his bridge. His crew were terrified. They had come here expecting an easy victory, a chance to crush a weak species and earn glory. Instead, they had walked into a nightmare. The mighty Crovalian Empire, conquerors of worlds, had met something they did not understand. A species that loved peace, but had never forgotten the art of war. A species that would go to any length to protect their young. Xexthor had wanted to make an example of humanity. Instead, humanity had made an example of him. With shaking hands, he reached for the communication controls. All Crovalian ships, his voice was barely a whisper. Stand down. Power down all weapons. We surrender. The words felt like poison in his mouth. But looking at his tactical display, at the burning wrecks of his fleet, at the overwhelming human forces surrounding them, he knew there was no other choice. Admiral Kim nodded slowly. A wise decision, Commander. Your surviving crews will be taken into custody. Your ships will be secured. And you will remain as our prison. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species shouted over each other, their translation devices creating a wall of confused noise. On the massive central screen, live footage from the battle zone played on repeat. Human warships destroying Crovalian vessels with ease. Thousands of human ships appearing from nowhere. The systematic destruction of the most powerful military fleet the galaxy had seen in decades. Council mediator Velnara struck her resonance staff against the floor 3 times. The sound cut through the noise like a blade. Order! We must have order. Slowly, the chamber quieted, but the tension remained thick in the air. Every species present was reassessing everything they thought they knew about humanity. The human ambassador has requested to address the council, Velnara announced. Given the circumstances, I believe we should hear what Earth has to say. And the doors opened. Ambassador Park Min-jun walked in with the same calm, measured pace he always used. He wore the same simple diplomatic uniform. His expression was neutral. To anyone watching, he appeared exactly as he had 10 days ago, when Xexthor had issued his ultimatum. But now, everyone in the chamber looked at him differently. This was not a representative of a weak, peaceful species. This was the diplomat of a military power that had just dismantled the Crovalian armada like children's toys. Park took his position at the human podium. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various representatives. Many looked away. Some appeared frightened. Others showed respect they had never demonstrated before. Honorable council members, Park began in his quiet voice. I appear before you today to address concerns about recent military actions in human space. Concerns? Shouted the Vrelian ambassador, a species known for their aggressive nature. You lied to us! You told us humanity was peaceful. You claimed to have minimal military forces. Park raised one hand slightly. Ambassador Vrel, please review your records. You will find that humanity never once lied about our capabilities. We stated we preferred peace. That statement was and remains true. We reported our active military vessels accurately. Those reports were correct. We never claimed those were our only ships. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The representatives began accessing their archives, reviewing decades of human diplomatic statements. Park was right. Humanity had never actually claimed to be weak. They had simply not volunteered information about their true capabilities. We answered the questions we were asked, Park continued. We provided the information requested. If the galaxy assumed our peaceful nature meant we were defenseless, that assumption was yours, not ours. The Peltharian mediator spoke carefully. Ambassador Park, the Council has observed footage of your military facilities. The shipyards, the hidden bases, the weapons platforms. How long have you been preparing for war? Park's expression did not change. We have been preparing since the day we left Earth. We hoped we would never need these preparations. We desperately wanted to prove our preparations were unnecessary. But we are not fools, mediator. We studied galactic history before we ventured into space. He activated his display, showing images that made many council members uncomfortable. Historical records of species being conquered. Weaker civilizations destroyed or enslaved by stronger ones. The Crovalian Empire's own expansion, marked by blood and fire across dozens of worlds. We learned that the galaxy respects strength, Park said quietly. We learned that peaceful species, without the means to defend themselves, become victims. We learned that predators hunt the weak. He paused, looking directly at several ambassadors whose species had been conquered in the past. We decided we would never be victims. We would build the strength necessary to ensure our survival. But we made a choice. We would use that strength to protect, not to conquer, to defend, not to attack. But you destroyed the Crovalian fleet. Another ambassador objected. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of casualties. Park's eyes turned cold. The Crovalian Empire entered our space with 500 warships. They demanded we abandon our homes or face annihilation. They threatened our families. Our children. They gave us 10 days to surrender everything we had built, or they would destroy us. I'm Liton. He let the words hang in the air. When he continued, his voice was harder than anyone had ever heard it. What did you expect us to do? Submit? Allow our citizens to be killed or displaced? Hope that a species with 3,000 years of conquest and slavery would show mercy? No one answered. Because they all knew what they would have done in humanity's position. They would have fought, or they would have surrendered. Most species would have surrendered. Humanity chose a third option, Park said. We chose to win. On the screen behind him, new footage appeared. Human medic ships moving through the battlefield, rescuing Crovalian survivors. Human engineers repairing damaged Crovalian vessels to keep life support functioning. Human doctors treating wounded Crovalian soldiers. We destroyed your fleet, Park said, his voice quieter now. But we did not destroy your people. Every Crovalian who surrendered is being treated according to galactic conventions. Their wounded are receiving medical care. Their ships are being secured, not scrapped. Their crews will be returned to their empire once terms are negotiated. He looked directly at where the Crovalian delegation would have sat if they had not fled the chamber in shame. We did not come to your worlds. We did not threaten your families. We did not demand you surrender. You came to us. You started this war. We ended it. The chamber was silent. Every representative was absorbing the implications. Humanity had revealed military power that eclipsed most of the known galaxy. They could have used that power to conquer. Instead, they had used it to defend. And even in victory, they showed mercy. It was terrifying and reassuring at the same time. I have been authorized by Earth to make a statement of policy, Park continued. He pulled up a document that appeared on every representative's personal screen. Humanity is proposing new protocols for the Galactic Council. Protocols that will protect peaceful species from aggressive expansion. The document detailed a comprehensive system of mutual defense, clear rules for colonization, and severe consequences for unprovoked military action. It was everything the Council had tried and failed to implement for centuries. The aggressive species had always blocked such measures, but now humanity had the power to enforce them. We are not demanding these changes, Park clarified. We are proposing them. If the Council agrees, humanity will commit our military forces to defending any member species from unprovoked attack. We will share our defensive technology with species that wish to protect themselves. We will work to ensure that peace is protected, not just hoped for. Velnara studied the proposal carefully. And if the Council does not agree to these protocols? Park met her eyes. Then humanity will continue to defend our own interests. We will protect our allies. We will respond to aggression with overwhelming force. But we will not participate in a galactic order that allows the strong to prey upon the weak. It was not quite an ultimatum. But it was close. The message was clear. The galaxy could work with humanity to create a more just system, or humanity would create that system by force if necessary. The Council will need time to debate this proposal, Velnara said slowly. Of course, Park agreed. But while you debate, please consider one more thing. The screens changed again, this time showing Earth's industrial capacity in full detail. The massive shipyards, the automated factories, the resource processing facilities on dozens of worlds and moons, everything that allowed humanity to wage war on an industrial scale. This is 10 days of military production, Park explained. In 10 days, since the Crovalian ultimatum, we have produced 120 new warships. We have manufactured enough missiles to fight a decade-long war. We have activated defense systems across all our territory. He let that sink in before continuing. Imagine what we can do in a year, in 10 years, in a century. Humanity's industrial capacity is growing exponentially. We are a young species, but we are spreading quickly. In time, we will be the largest industrial power the galaxy has ever seen. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably. The implications were staggering. An industrial giant with advanced military technology and the will to use it. But we do not want to be the galaxy's conqueror, Park said, his voice softening. We want to be the galaxy's protector. We want to be your partners in building something better, a galaxy where species can explore, grow, and thrive without fear. Where strength is used to defend the weak, not exploit them. He bowed slightly to the Council. That is humanity's vision. That is what we are offering. We hope you will join us in making it real. Park gathered his materials and prepared to leave the podium. Before he did, he spoke one final time. The Crovalian Empire wanted to make an example of humanity. They wanted to show the galaxy what happens to weak species who do not submit. Instead, they taught a different lesson. His eyes swept across the chamber, making sure every representative understood. They taught the galaxy that humanity cannot be bullied, that we will defend our people with every resource at our disposal, that we would rather die fighting than live on our knees. He paused at the doorway, looking back. We came to the stars, seeking friends, not subjects. We still do. But we will never be victims. Remember that. Ambassador Park left the chamber. Behind him, the Council erupted in discussion. The galaxy had changed. The balance of power had shifted, and at the center of it all was a species that loved peace but had never forgotten how to wage war. Humanity had spoken. Now the galaxy would have to decide how to respond. 18 days had passed since the Crovalian Armada entered human space. The war, if it could even be called that, was over. In the detention facility on Armstrong Station, High Commander Zex Thor sat in a simple room, watching through a window as human engineers worked on his damaged ships. They were not scrapping the vessels, they were repairing them. Human technicians crawled over Crovalian hulls, fixing what human weapons had broken. It made no sense to Zex Thor. In Crovalian culture, captured enemy ships became war prizes. They were stripped for parts or melted down. The crews were sold or enslaved. But humans were different. Infuriatingly, incomprehensibly different. The door opened. A young Crovalian officer entered, escorted by a human guard. The officer's name was Krevnil, and he had served as a junior tactical officer on one of the destroyed cruisers. He survived only because human rescue ships had pulled him from the wreckage. "Commander," Krevnil said, bowing respectfully. Zex Thor gestured for him to sit. The human guard stepped outside, giving them privacy. Another strange human behavior. They did not fear their prisoners would escape or plot, or perhaps they simply did not care. What could two Crovalians do against a species that had defeated an entire armada? "How are the others?" Zex Thor asked. "Recovering, Commander. The humans are treating our wounded with the same care they give their own." Better care, actually, than many would receive in the Empire. Krevniel's voice held confusion. I do not understand them. We came to destroy their worlds. Kill their families. They should hate us. They probably do, Zexthor said quietly. But they are showing us what they tried to tell us with words. That mercy is not weakness. That being civilized is a choice they make, not a limitation they suffer from. He thought back to the battle. To Admiral Kim's cold efficiency. The humans had destroyed his fleet with clinical precision. No unnecessary cruelty. No torture or humiliation. Just overwhelming force applied exactly where needed. Even in war, they had shown restraint. It was the behavior of a species confident in their power. They did not need to prove their strength through cruelty. The battle itself had proven everything. The council met again yesterday, Krevniel said. I heard the human ambassador's speech. They are proposing new laws. Protection for peaceful species. Restrictions on military expansion. Laws that would have prevented our conquest of the Andral sector, Zexthor acknowledged. Laws that would limit the Empire's power. Is that so terrible? Krevniel asked quietly. When Zexthor looked at him sharply, the young officer did not back down. Commander, I have been talking with the human guards. Learning about their history. Did you know they nearly destroyed themselves? Multiple times. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could sterilize entire planets. I did not, Zexthor admitted. They learned from those mistakes. They decided to be better. When they came to space, they chose to seek cooperation instead of conquest. Not because they were weak, but because they knew the cost of war. Krevniel looked out the window, at the repaired ships. Maybe we could learn from them too. Zexthor wanted to argue. To defend the Empire's glory and its right to expand. But the words felt hollow. What glory was there in defeat? What right to expand when you could not even hold what you had claimed? Far away, in the Galactic Council chamber, the vote was taking place. Every species had their representative present. The chamber was packed beyond capacity, with observers standing in every available space. This vote would reshape the galaxy. Council mediator Velnara read the proposal one final time. The Council recognizes the proposed mutual defense and peaceful expansion protocols, sponsored by the human delegation. All in favor of adopting these protocols into galactic law? The vote began. One by one, species indicated their support. The peaceful species voted immediately, grateful for protections they had long needed. Some aggressive species voted against, unwilling to limit their expansion. But many, seeing what had happened to the Crovalians, voted in favor. Better to accept limitations than face humanity's military might. When the count was complete, Velnara announced the results. The protocols are adopted by a margin of 73%. From this day forward, the Galactic Council commits to protecting peaceful expansion and defending member species from unprovoked aggression. Ambassador Park stood and bowed to the Council. On behalf of humanity, we commit our forces to upholding these protocols. Any species that threatens another without cause will face consequences. We hope those consequences never become necessary. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy adjusted to its new reality. Human warships began joint patrols with other species, training them in defensive tactics. Human engineers helped peaceful species upgrade their defense systems. Human diplomats worked tirelessly to resolve disputes before they escalated to violence. The aggressive species watched and waited, looking for weaknesses in the new order. They found none. Humanity had not been bluffing. Their industrial capacity continued to grow. Their fleet expanded. Their technology advanced. Within 6 months, Earth's defense fleet numbered over 3,000 warships, with more being built every day. On Armstrong Station, the day came for the Crovalian prisoners to be released. Zexthor stood with his surviving officers as Admiral Kim addressed them. She looked as stern and professional as ever, but there was something in her eyes. Not quite forgiveness, but perhaps understanding. "The Crovalian Empire has agreed to the terms of surrender," she announced. "Your ships will be returned to you. Your crews will go home. In exchange, the Empire has agreed to respect the new Council protocols and will pay reparations for the human lives lost in your attack." Zexthor expected humiliation, demands for him to bow or beg. Instead, Kim simply handed him a datapad. "These are the coordinates where your ships are waiting. They have been fully repaired and refueled. We are also including detailed reports on the structural damage they sustained, so your engineers can understand their weaknesses." 2. "You are giving us information on how to improve our ships?" Zexthor asked in disbelief. "We would prefer you never attack us again," Kim said bluntly. "But if you do, we want it to be a fair fight. We do not want to win because you were unprepared. We want you to understand that even at your best, we are better." It was perhaps the most ruthless mercy Zexthor had ever encountered. The humans were not just defeating their enemies. They were teaching them to be better enemies, confident they would still win. "Why?" Zexthor asked. "Why show us this kindness after what we tried to do?" Kim considered the question carefully. "Because we remember what we were. Centuries ago, my ancestors were warlords and conquerors. They killed without mercy. They gloried in war, but they learned eventually that strength without wisdom leads only to destruction." She looked directly at Zexthor. "We are giving you the same chance we gave ourselves, the chance to be better." As the Crovalian officers prepared to depart, Krevnil approached Kim. "Admiral, I have a request. I wish to remain here as a cultural liaison, to learn more about humanity, with your permission and my commander's." Zexthor started to object, but something stopped him. He looked at the young officer's earnest face. Then, at the human admiral's surprised expression. "Go," he said quietly. "Learn what you can. Perhaps you will teach the rest of us." Months passed. The galaxy settled into its new order. Species that had lived in fear of conquest began to thrive. Trade flourished. Cultural exchanges increased. The Galactic Council, once a forum for the strong to justify their actions, became a true forum for cooperation, and at the center of it all was humanity. Not dominating, not conquering, simply being strong enough to ensure peace was protected. Their ships patrolled the trade routes. Their diplomats mediated disputes. Their example inspired other species to seek cooperation over conflict. In the council chamber, Ambassador Park stood before a gathering celebrating the first anniversary of the new protocols. Species that had been enemies for centuries now worked together, united by the knowledge that aggression would no longer be tolerated. 1 year ago, Park addressed the crowd. "The Crovalian Empire came to human space, seeking to make us an example. They wanted to show the galaxy what happens to weak species who do not submit to the strong." He paused, looking around at the gathered representatives. "They did make us an example, but not the one they intended. We became an example of what happens when you defend the innocent, when you choose civilization over barbarism, when you use your strength to protect rather than exploit." From the back of the chamber, Zexthor watched. He had returned to the council as an observer, no longer a commander, but a simple representative. The Crovalian Empire had undergone changes, reforms. Young officers like Krevnil, inspired by what they had learned from humanity, were changing the old ways. It would take generations, but change was happening. "We did not want this responsibility," Park continued. "We came to the stars seeking friendship and wonder. We found those things, but we also found the need to be guardians. So we became both, friends and protectors, partners and defenders." He raised his hand in a gesture of unity. "This is humanity's promise to the galaxy. We will walk softly among the stars. We will seek peace at every opportunity. We will extend our hand in friendship to all who wish it." His expression hardened slightly. But we will never again allow the strong to prey upon the weak. We will never permit aggression to go unchallenged. We will never surrender to bullies or tyrants. Park's final words rang through the chamber with quiet certainty. We came to the stars seeking friends, not subjects. We found friends. We built alliances. We created something better, and we will protect what we have built with every resource at our disposal. He looked directly at where the Crovalian delegation sat. You wanted war. You faced annihilation. And from that annihilation, something new was born. A galaxy where peace is not just hoped for, but guaranteed. Where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Where every species can grow and thrive without fear. Ambassador Park smiled slightly. Thank you, High Commander Zex Thor, for teaching us this lesson. Thank you for showing us that we needed to be strong enough to defend our values. You meant to destroy us, but instead, you helped us become what we always should have been. The guardians of peace, the defenders of the innocent, the species that said no to tyranny and made it stick. The chamber erupted in applause. Not everyone was happy with the new order, but everyone respected it. Because behind the diplomacy, behind the kind words and peaceful gestures, everyone knew the truth. Humanity had teeth, and they were never afraid to show them when necessary. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Peace was not weakness. Mercy was not helplessness. And humanity, the species that loved peace above all else, was also the species you never wanted to fight. Because when humanity went to war, they did not just fight to win. They fought to end the fight permanently. They fought to ensure it never happened again. They fought for annihilation of aggression itself, and they had the power to deliver on that promise. Until terms can be negotiated. She paused, letting her next words sink in. Remember this moment, High Commander. Remember that you came to human space, seeking to destroy us. Remember that we gave you a chance for peace, and you chose war. Remember how that choice ended. The human ships began moving in, surrounding the surrendered Crovalian vessels. It was over. The battle had lasted less than 3 hours. Of the 500 Crovalian warships that